They go for the Hecarim, which didn't feel like the problem for Froskurinn. It felt like Karsa was the person who was set up for success, or at least set Top Esports up for early success.
Yeah, and I was curious if that meant that with the Kai'Sa ban that Viper was going to go back to his Xayah, but instead now we see the Udyr and the Tristana locked in. So EDG really kind of changing gears up from the answer that they had last time, which was to go for the Volibear flex into the Kai'Sa. So very different look from EDG, as we also have the denial of Meiko's Alistar, and Jinx has a really decent lane matchup into Tristana. It's pretty even, and a lot of times the support will decide it. So JackeyLove denied his Tristana, but goes immediately for the next best hyper carry.
Which is funny, JackeyLove onto the Jinx yet again when he was going up against One Fong. It was such a big priority pick, and the fact that it's been till game 3 to see it on the AD carries is quite a big deal. We'll see what EDG get in response though, because normally it's a support here, but mid laner picked up early, most likely going to scout again with the Sylas.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be a really good answer, and Sylas is always going to climb in prio when you have a Hecarim on the enemy team. We saw how powerful the Onslaught of Shadow is. Now, heading into secondary ban phase, I expect Ryze and Orianna to be on the chopping block. Now, you could give the Ori-Sylas matchup again. Scout felt like he was pretty comfortable in that, despite the fact that Knight did get the better of him in lane phase. But you saw that top were never really able to execute on the ball delivery service. I would still take the Orianna off because you have now the Alistar and the Hecarim, and Knight was still getting great shockwaves off. It was just the fact that EDG got kind of so far ahead in their tanky stats that it didn't really matter because there's no follow-up damage.
I think it's a really important point because interesting to see the Zoe come through instead. Yeah, they are going to give the Orianna. I was going to say, if they ban the Orianna, what, Knight's not going to do something like the Azir? That's not really his style. But the Zoe is a champion that could bring them back from the brink of this 0-2 start. Denied by EDG, which I think is a really smart maneuver. And yeah, they don't see a threat in giving Knight Orianna if that's the direction he goes yet again.
Now, EDG could pick up the Rell here. You would expect that they would look for a tanky support. Now, technically, that Tristana and Sylas are both flex picks, so EDG could even throw a wrench in and even pick up another AD carry. I think that the Rell makes a lot more sense because you kind of, again, keep your cards close to your chest. You're not revealing everything, because that last pick could be a lock-in in Xayah, and suddenly, you know, you're Flandre playing Tristana top with Scout and Sylas mid.
We know he's one of the most flexible top laners, right? You know as well as I do that Flandre, the player since 2015 on Snake, has a huge champion pool. So we'll get that rounded out now. No surprise on the other side with Top Esports giving the Orianna and the GP. Froskurinn, I see a hell of a lot of scaling. I see a lot of ulti. I see pressure towards the bottom lane for Top Esports. So this looks like a good response. While EDG are like, hey, remember, Nocturne's available and the LPL loves this pick as a bit of a response against TES.
And it is going to be locked in. So we'll see if it's going to be that mid lane Nocturne or if it will be the top lane Nocturne. Flandre's holding on to it. We just saw a Scout on the Sylas, so it's probably going to be that top lane. And like you said, the name of the game for Top Esports is that bottom lane. You have really good dive potential with setup from Alistar, as well as the Super Mega Death Rocket and the Cannon Barrage on top of that. We've seen Karsa getting involved time and time again. But there is also a ton of punish on the top side of the map for EDG. You know, if this Gangplank isn't careful, if he gets shoved in, yeah, he's pretty decent. It's hard to really break a Gangplank lane, but when you have tools like the Paranoia, like the drive-by from Udyr, and if Scout does have TP, it is possible.
It really is. It's exciting, right? We've had pretty cool picks here for Game 2 and Game 3.
Front to circle.
Let's hope. Match point here. EDG could finish it off with a clean 3-0. That would make a statement against FPX, who 3-0'd RNG. One hell of a semi-final that would be, but Top Esports, you're right. Backs against the wall. Not a new experience here for this defending champ of the LPL. The crowd out in force. I believe we're still in Shanghai in the Hongqiao Arena. The crowd lines up. EDG with a bit of a fan here. Frost, Viper coming in, but not sure if anything's going to develop. JackeyLove just getting off some pot shots, and they'll back away.
It is going to be the Conqueror Jinx as opposed to the Lethal Tempo. This has kind of been a 50-50 split between a lot of pros. I know that Viper really likes the Conqueror Jinx as well, whereas other pros will go for the Lethal Tempo. Usually you spec into Domination secondary, get Relentless Hunter, look for that Conqueror stack, keep them up in long extended team fights. You just start blowing people up with your rocket launcher. Feels really good on Jinx. I think it's, yep, there we go. It is Domination second.
Oh, yeah.
I think as soon as Riot change the cap on monster damage with the ultimate, that Jinx really got out of control. Her Baron snipe potential is just absolutely disgusting. And I've really been waiting for Jinx to come back in the meta. I feel like pros were a bit slow to pick her up. I think she's been really strong. So I'm just super stoked to see her here. And hopefully JackeyLove has a good game on her, as he does get to the lane first, while both junglers did start bottom side of the map. But Karsa actually looking for really quick gank pathing, potentially on top side. He went Raptor Camp immediately into his blue buff, but he's actually pinged out by EDG.
And remember, he's taking Ghost this time around instead of the Ignite, so he'll come in pretty fast. Flandre's already pushed out. You mentioned where Karsa is for the setup. JackeyLove and Zhuo pushing in this bottom lane meanwhile, probably thinking that, all right, Jiejie's pathing towards the top side. Excuse me, Knight should be able to spot him out with a cheeky ward now towards the Raptors. There he is. Now JackeyLove and Zhuo can keep pushing up while Karsa getting a little bit low, but heal up here thanks to the Gromp, and maybe he's going to be working his way down instead.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I thought that maybe he would be going for an early gank on top lane, because it looked like Flandre was trying to get the wave to bounce off the top lane tower, but he's actually just focusing on his small camps, picking up the blue buff to keep him pretty healthy through the jungle, and obviously that mana to spam his W and his Q. Now he switches it up. I thought for sure that he'd go for Krug Camp and then do Raptor Camp last, or excuse me, Red buff last, to increase the duration on his Red for gank, and instead get all of his smaller camps on the shortest cooldown. But maybe he's watching his bot lane get this bounce off of the tower, pick up Crab and look for gank.
Great attract and repel. JackeyLove just smacked out thanks to the explosive charge. Really nice from Viper and Meiko. This is what we've seen, right? Even though JackeyLove and Zhuo got some priorities, the rocket jump comes through again. Viper and Meiko are always willing to push it, as Jungler's going to fight as well. Jiejie has a level lead, and there's low health bars on top esports. Meiko and Viper going to make it dangerous in a second, but top esports have to back away. And Jiejie says thanks for the scuttle, he might even get both.
I mean, he's definitely going to get both unless Karsa just like sprints towards top scuttle, and he's probably also going to lose his Raptor Camp. Knight is relatively low mana. Okay, so they're going to trade Knight's pressure, maybe his life.
Knight doesn't pay the respect, has to flash away. Flash for flash there from Jiejie, who'll go to the top side scuttle, and Knight will have to burn the TP after getting forced out.
I was going to say, they're going to trade Knight's lane phase for Karsa's Raptor Camp. Now, Karsa does get Raptor, but Knight trades his flash for that one, so a bit of a disaster with some of the early pathing. I feel like Karsa really overreached just trying to get that Crab. You could see what he was thinking, the fact that he had Prio in bot lane, but really great moves from Meiko and Viper to swing the damage around and just, you know, total fast clear from top to bot reset. He immediately ran back to bot Crab from Jiejie.
The double scuttle now down as well. He's got a good reset timer. The camp's respawning too. Karsa doing the same, but note that Jiejie is out on the map first, and has a pretty good setup here in this early game. And Frost, you know, we were looking at the drafts before, and in this third game, top esports have a lot of scaling. It does feel like EDG want to build a bit more of the tempo here. If you don't mind explaining a little bit more about how these comps more interact and what we should be expecting to see as these top laners hit 6 and add a bit more global pressure.
I mean, the obvious example will be 369 using the Cannon Barrage cross map. You already talked about kind of the bot lane plays. You do expect EDG to get prio over early dragons because Udyr is going to be able to do them so quickly comparatively to Hecarim, who really wants to continue to farm up. You talked about the scaling potential. I feel like the TLDR spark notes of how this game should go. Does Flandre have kill pressure on JackeyLove? If the answer is yes, then EDG will probably win this game. If the answer is no, then I think things become a lot more open-ended. There's great dive tools on both sides, but I feel like there's more damage. It's hard to say there's more damage threats because there's damage threats basically across the board, but I just haven't felt Knight's impact on this Orianna.
Yeah, I haven't all game long, all series long, as that's a good shockwave though, but there's the paranoia. Where's Flandre going to fly in from? Well, he's back onto this top lane. 369 will take a bit of a brunt. He has the orange spin there from Flandre. The Umbral Blade's doing its job, but that was a bit of a disengage after Knight got a decent shockwave to scare EDG.
And those shockwaves are still in a position where they can really hurt. I guess maybe it'll be a little bit easier because there's not as many tanks this game, so maybe this Orianna will continue to be useful as, oh no, he holds his flash because he's got the orange. Playing on a knife's edge there, 369.
Yeah, 369 knowing Jiejie's up here though, and look, Scouts made the move too after pushing out mid, so 369 has to be careful. Already used the cannon barrage, I believe, to fend off Flandre, while karsa in the bottom lane. Now Frost, we know that they want to set up JackeyLove, but he's going to get spotted out on a ward, so it's just going to be the scuttle, while Zhuo and JackeyLove going to use that pressure.
I still think that this is really fine for top esports. You know, they don't have to overforce here. They have so many great tools, and kind of with the whiff of the two top lane ultimates, both the Paranoia as well as the Cannon Barrage, I think that that does help out top esports slightly more, because I guess I do actually favor, like thinking about it more, the Gangplank and how this matchup will play, just because GP can have so much zone control with his barrels. You know, level 13 is going to be that big window for him when he can start doing all the cool barrel setup tricks. Like, people don't usually think about Gangplank as a really strong team fighter, because for most of the game, he's really not. He is about that cross-map pressure, but when he is level 13, he's an amazing team fighter, as long as he gets to the team fight first and is able to get that setup.
I love that point. Be there first, get the setup with the GP barrels so that you can control the space, where EDG can engage, but GP can also fight back. Gangplank right now, level 7 up in this top lane. 369 has a massive wave up against Flandre. Flandre's already used the Paranoia, but it will come up and available in a second. Just note that might be useful, especially when we're getting towards this Herald. 8 minutes, spawns now, ward down from Flandre, so we'll have the Paranoia if he has to join in on this Herald play.
I feel like what Flandre actually really wants to do is get a hard push on top side, then actually cheat his way down mid. So obviously the Paranoia is going to give him a lot of control in top river, because he can get there first, although I'll hold it for JackeyLove. I think he's okay. So he can get there first, but otherwise I think he really wants to hard push Gangplank in and then run down towards mid and actually try to use his ultimate on mid lane.
It's interesting because Knight has the flash. Going to be hard to do, but completely agree. If Knight is caught out, mid lane control comes through. And 500 gold lead here for top esports. It's been a slower early game. I think that's good for everyone. When we've seen pretty explosive early games where top esports have tried to find a lead, but giving away so much to EDG, this is a much slower start that feels like it will be favorable for TES.
Yeah, as long as nothing continues to happen, although EDG are making sure that if TES are getting kind of their free farm lanes, building up these CS leads where they can, that Jiejie is at least, you know, starting to stack the dragons, already has the Ocean Dragon, next one in 115, now on the Herald, maybe has overextended himself, but Meiko has inside track here, so it's actually a numbers advantage for EDG, so TES wave the white flag, they say not today. Maybe even a pick on Viper here, as you can see that Alistar is actually really far behind Trist. They might be going for the dive. There's no teleports from EDG. Is he just going to walk it out?
Minion waves
there. You can't tell.
Karsa's trying to run in and Viper's like, what is actually happening?
I was just playing.
He backs away, goes to the scuttles like, I'll take this instead. Let's go to the Mountain Dragon. As confused as Viper is, EDG setting the cavalry down just in case.
Viper was just like, I dare you. Let's dance.
Let's go. I'll take it. Has flash heal. Play his way out of it. Meiko wasn't there. He was grouped around the mid lane. But maybe we get to play that double dare game around Dragon. 20 seconds till that spawns. And Viper and Meiko will have the shove here. JackeyLove left without a support as Zhuo backed away before the Dragon. But he's got Mobies, so he'll be there pretty quick.
Yeah, it does feel like Karsa's saying not this Dragon, the next one. We'll see if he passes towards this topside jungle, which has the camps. Yep, there's the on the way ping towards the wolf camp, so it's probably not going to be a Dragon contest, at least from what I see on the map happening, although Alistar is kind of in position.
Yeah, he is. Dragon spawns. Zhuo's here, but no one's looking at it. The Karsa's just gone back to farming. Jiejie's coming in and just shadowing in case Jiejie makes an appearance for Knight, who is once again, by the way, 20 CS up on this mid lane. I mean, the one good thing we can say about Knight this series, Frosk, is that he's doing well within the laning phase. Even with all the pressure and the flash burnt before, Knight is still gapping Scout within the first 15 minutes of the game.
Expectations set for Knight, you know, he's such an incredible laner. I just feel like kind of the one thing that I really want to see Knight grow into as he continues to have more time as a pro player. It's just his impact on the map and not just his lane state. As here's the dragon fight we wanted. Karsa did have enough time to pick this wolf camp, his raptor camp, and now over into this dragon fight. Both junglers level 8, and it's Flandre who gets first movement here down towards this pit.
Karsa has stolen away too many dragons to count. Too many objectives throughout this series already. Onslaught of Shadows is available. Teleport into the back of the pit. Paranoia used, but Karsa in front of the dragon as it resets. GP here for the TP, but in goes EDG. It's Scout who gets the beautiful engage. And first blood over to Jiejie while JackeyLove's hitting on the backline. Look at the Jinx about to get excited. The first kill goes down. Scout dodges away from the Super Mega Death Rocket as he doesn't get the abscond abduct, nor did he want it, as we're still around the dragon. And EDG, even with the blinking health bars, want to take this one around. Viper needs to do some more damage.
Alistar.
But it is taken. You know what? I did watch the Alistar because Zhuo took the dragon. Somehow, some way, as Top Esports are being collapsed on though, was it worth it? With a 4 versus 1, the horse is sent back to the vet, with Top Esports losing it for the cost of that objective.
And just on a knife's edge, that team fight, you know, if that's a different decision that's coming out of the Alistar there, yeah, he picked up the dragon and denied the second stack for EDG there, but he only hit one person. Maybe he instead decides to use the W pulverize on multiple targets. Does that mean that Top Esport win the team fight? I think it was simple target selection that was the difference there in EDG coming out on top.
That's a great start for EDG. Gold lead, the fight, and we'll have a look again because this was a big dragon dance for like 30 seconds, a minute of this game.
And you called it really well, you know, the paranoia being used to kind of dissuade Karsa. EDG then force off of the dragon. Meiko's doing a good job kind of zoning away 3 people, but doesn't have the tank stats to last as the first kill goes down. Good news for Scout that Mega Death Rocket doesn't connect with him, because if it did, I think EDG are just lights out. And then here we're saying, what if Alistar instead hits Flandre, Viper, and Scout, as opposed to looking for the dragon and getting Jiejie? Like, trying to deny for the dragon instead of trying to win the team fight. Maybe that's a different story there, but it's kind of like these split-second decisions, which is why I really love watching the LPL, because of how creative and how many you know, timelines there are in just a single small movement.
Right. For the better or for the worse, especially with a team like Top Esports. As Jaw's going in, Rocket Jump gets away though because the headbutt pulverize doesn't connect. Jiejie getting hit away by the horse, who's incredibly fast, but Karsa can't push him into the rest of the team. They push them away from the Rift Herald getting any further plating, but the Herald still charges and gives the gold over. Despite the play, note that EDG ahead by about 300 gold in this game, but Scout is once again in a good position. Viper too now with the Kraken Slayer. And this is a story we're telling in game 1, Frosk. EDG managing to get some solid leads, hold on, and build themselves into these games, as they will do again with the Mythics coming on board.
I'll do you one better. Hysterics is even worse for Top Esports, because if you look across the summoner spells, a lot of their key carries are missing flash. Knight has his flash, but 369 doesn't have his. JackeyLove doesn't have his. So EDG are going to feel really confident to actually group up and look for a pretty fast and immediate 5v5. You know, if that's a snap-on mid lane, or if that's grouping up in top river when this Herald spawns, like, it's so dangerous for Top Esports to even look for a skirmish right now because they don't have the summoners to contest.
And the windows of things like Cleanse, it will be up soon for JackeyLove, but remember, everyone in EDG has CC, even Viper. Flandre has a fear, he has a paranoia as well, not being able to see things. That's got to be some form of CC, so there's everyone to be scared of if you're Top Esports and you're a carry like JackeyLove. As they're grouping around mid, it looks like the setup for the next Herald at 15 minutes here in the game. And note that Karsa's getting the scuttle for now, but EDG is staying grouped up as we know EDG to do. They act like a pack of wolves searching in hunger.
See if Top Esports can maybe get an early pick off of Flandre, but he reads it, does have the Stride Breaker available to him. And here we go. We talked about the confidence that EDG would have. Scout also has TP, so he can join this fight, but Top Esports trying to pull the trigger first.
Onslaught of Shadows, paranoia, but Jiejie is already dead. JackeyLove picks up the kill. That's great for Top Esports. They'll get the Herald here, and finally, JackeyLove gets some gold as well.
Yeah, just the snap decision-making from Alistar, you know, kind of one of the big power abilities of this pick, and why it is so crucial for the LPL. You know, LPL doesn't really hesitate. They pull the trigger immediately on team fights, and Alistar has such an incredible ability to do that, especially with something like a flash pulverize headbutt or headbutt pulverize. So what I felt like would actually be a really strong position for EDG, because they had a summoner advantage, is actually just flipped around the other side into a really great pick, into a Rift Herald, into a mid lane tower, and especially with the speed at which Jinx can rip through things, this is a big win for Top.
It is breaking down the mid lane turret. They don't get first turret blood thanks to Scout, but they still get more gold into the Jinx. Top esports are even. They have the scaling elements, and we're getting those first mythic items across the board as well. So I just feel like top esports going to be a little bit more confident. And what now?
Yeah, and they're going to feel really confident in 27 seconds when they fight over this dragon, because now that window where EDG could have punished them in a team fight with a summoner disparity is gone. You know, JackeyLove has his flashback up. He's probably going to have an item and a half. I lied. He's got a crit cloak, and he's so close. He's so close to the item and a half. But they're going to feel much better about walking into this river again and contesting EDG. So now we're kind of back to the basics of the win conditions. You know, can Flandre actually use his ultimate offensively rather than defensively? The last few times he's used the paranoia to kind of hide information and stall out dragon fights instead of really using it to dive backline.
Yeah, it'll be an aggressive move that really sets the tone for the rest of this game and potentially the ending of series, but EDG find no contest. Top esports weren't caring. They said, okay, 369, we'll put him up towards his top lane and he'll pick up the solo lane gold. The GP who's almost towards his second item as well, and I think that's pretty crucial here. They say, well, we don't have setup, let's forget it. It is only the second dragon for EDG. There's more where that came from, and so karsa barrels up with him as well. Jiejie finds his Krug's gone, and 369 should be able to get that second item now, which I think is a big talking point considering that 369 has had a decent enough laning phase and now has the Immortal Shield bow.
Damn you, Oppo Cam! He's like back. We're about to see him bring in the second item, and they're just like, oh, buy a camera phone. Give me the items observer, please.
I think we bait our audience.
You're absolutely right, Hysterics. You hit the nail on the head. The fact of the matter is that top esports waved the white flag. They say, we're about to get, I'm going to use a professional term, a shit ton of gold onto our Gangplank. There you go.
Very good.
Immortal Shield Bow and Essence Reaver now completed.
But it's big, right? Like, you talk about the Immortal Shield Bow. I think the biggest thing right now for me is that if 369 gets the setup that you talked about, that you established with top esports composition, then if Flandre goes in, right, he's going to be a big aggressive tool, but 369 could be the bigger carry. And 369 on this GP, we've seen before. He's fantastic on this pick, and I think for top esports, they're going to be able to utilize these solo laners and how they bring, I guess, their wombo, their damage to these fights coming up as well.
Yeah, they feel a lot more confident. Now, EDG are just trying to use some of their fast pushing potential to get around this map faster and push in waves, find some chip damage where they can, and still feel like they're taking a lot more over in terms of the map, but you can still see that the CS differences aren't necessarily really changing. Slight leads that have been closed on top from EDG, but Knight picking up 2 waves bottom as well as a tower, and karsa, maybe even Flandre.
Yeah, trying to
Never mind. Walk it off.
Trying to get whatever that being is, and Flandre before was trying to solo it. Yeah, the zoning ultimate in the end. karsa having a level and use that. They found JackeyLove. He's burnt the flash already. Attract and repel can't cleanse, and Everfrost comes in from the wing. EDG with a huge pick. There's no objective, but hey, EDG again taking out JackeyLove, giving gold over to Viper.
Oh, it was a clown car teleport. It was the 2-for-1 special. It wasn't just Scout, it was also Flandre. So yeah, EDG really ripped off the band-aid, that one using all of their summoner spells to get that pick. But what does it actually mean? They can't translate it into the tower. Good defense from top esports, but are they going to try to force a dive here? Scouts on the flank.
I know EDG for taking harsh risks. They're not a team that'll just try and make the most brazen play possible. And so, like EDG, they'll back away. But you're right, there's no translation here, and top esports will come back out on the map a minute 50 before the Dragon. I think also important to note, the Baron is up and available, and both these teams have a reasonably fast Baron with a Jinx, with a Tristana, you know, DPS mages like Orianna, Sylas there too. So something that always has to be respected in the Vision game begins because of it.
Yeah, and I think at this point, EDG are going to be really gun-shy from trying to take any sort of 50-50 Barons, especially across from karsa. So they're probably going to play, I would assume, a bit more conservatively if they do turn towards the monster objective. At this point, it's the snap game, and it's the snap game over the mid lane wave. So you're looking at Alistar to use a flash and just grab someone, whoever's going to be daring enough to force this wave and look for mid-prio.
As you said, Meiko trying to catch out. That was close. Incredibly close back there from Zhuo. But 21 minutes in, I think the biggest thing for me right now is that we're hitting those 2 item points before we get to the next dragon, before we hit to the Baron. Especially for someone like Scout, the Zhonya's Hourglass. Massive for a Sylas for the resets. And now that he's picked it up, Scout feeling very big yet again. Also, Knight just picked up the Archangel Starfire I was talking to. Lord Dominic's for JackeyLove too. So everyone's kind of hit that point before this next fight.
And now we're looking at this next dragon setup. This one, obviously still not Soul, but double Infernal Lady is going to mean a bit more for top esports. Yeah. And my eyes are again on this Alistar, maybe even a Shockwave. Can Ali find an EDG member out of place as they're setting up either this vision or trying to force the wave in? And it's not Alistar, it's Karsa.
Let's go back. Karsa's coming in from the flank. He's waiting. From the angle that he's in, Karsa can fly on through, but EDG just hovering around River for now. And I also want to point out what you mentioned before. Look for Flandre to get onto the back line and utilize that paranoia offensively. Dragon begins, and Karsa still all the way up for a massive flanking angle.
Yeah, actually finishing off the Wolf Camp. It is level 12, level 11, but there we go.
He's done. Flandre's into the backline, Shockwave's there, but EDG now have to rely on Meiko on the backline. That attract the repel strikes through all of top esports, but 369 layering out the damage. Scout to interrupt. Jiejie still drops. Knight on the side. Solar Lane is alive. And finally, top esports wake up in this series. A Scout goes golden. 369 waiting for the Everfrost. The chase begins with the dissonance to help out. Thank you to Grasp. Thank you to Zhuo as the ace comes through. And TES are back on board.
A much better team fight this time around from TES, and maybe even finding kind of that secret sauce with that Alistar. How disruptive Ali can be with Tristana trying to reposition. It was kind of like the final cherry on top of other things that went right in that team fight. The fact that Ali was able to bat Viper away from trying to look for the reset and the turn on the team fight. Really well done here. So we take another look at this one. We had kind of the flow chart, you know. Would Nocturne be able to assassinate Jinx? If yes, EDG can win, and if no, Flandre flies back, Ali punts Nocturne off, and then you just have the massive damage output from Gangplank, Orianna, and Jinx to deal with. And there's that cherry on top. Viper's like, I can save the day, never mind.
Sure, interrupt. That was sick. That was real cool. And I mean, I know you're talking about Meiko's Alistar is one of the best, and I completely agree. I think Ming's up there as well.
LPL Alistars, man.
LPL Alistars, that's right. They're so good, and the playmaking supports in this region, whether it's on something like Tarm Kench that can be used offensively, as to no one's expectations, but Alistar as well in our top teams is just so good, and we can see why it's a priority pick in this series. We can see why it has been banned out or picked time and time again within this region. So Zhuo just showcasing the elements there, and now that we see top esports can win these fights with a 3k gold lead, with items on board, they're getting aggressive again, they're getting comfortable, especially around this Baron, clearing out the vision and trying to snuff EDG out.
And for once, finally, in this series, you're not looking at top esports, you know, from a massive item deficit. They've pretty much had gold leads, I think, every single time, kind of translating into mid-game, but it didn't feel like it meant anything, either because they wasted the gold on the wrong build, or kind of their key members were behind some of the other itemizations, you know, that super fed Rise in game number 1, the AP Gragas just wasting all of that advantage in game number 2. But now you see how different top look when they actually get to fight on even footing and start pulling this game away from EDG in these 5v5s.
They're just poking them down for now. I mean, Meiko keeps walking past mid, checking out top esports, 369, JackeyLove waiting there to spike him down, and there's already so much damage coming through. I want to point your attention to the third item here for 369 that's going to be built soon. That's the Infinity Edge coming through. 369 at 230 CS at 25 minutes in the game, in a very good position, and Karsa was just, I think he was also clearing a ward, may have started it with the Turbo Chem tank. And Baron, a very real threat. And Frost, what's next? What should we be gearing up for here? Because it's 2 dragons apiece. The game is still close, but top esports with an obvious advantage. And those items you mentioned. So what are we looking for from perhaps EDG to turn the favor, or the next play in line?
I think that EDG keep trying to play around the mid lane, but it's so hard to siege into Orianna and Jinx because of their collective wave clear, and that EDG actually need to focus on playing around their side lanes and looking for a pick there. The problem is that Scout and Flandre are on opposite sides of the map, and ideally, if this was a Nocturne jungle, you'd have your Nocturne jungle shadow one of your side laners. And as I say that, the Baron is immediately being snap grabbed and look for an assassination. So EDG were just stalling out, and meanwhile, top esports like, we've got all the items we want, we're feeling really powerful, let's force the team fight on Baron.
It's like assassination. Well, I got a TP in first. Flandre comes in. Parador immediately in the back lane's like, Zhuo, get me out of here. Just to get out. The spell shield's there, but Karsa matches him over the wall as he flashes. Scout's angle, though. Look, he now has a cannon barrage, but is the fight already done? Methinks yes, as the reverse cannon barrage slows them down, but Zhuo's in first. Low health bars onto Flandre. They jump on him, but the shockwave catches Viper. It's a two-man Q kill, as that's all JackeyLove needs. Zhuo on the side. Flandre now going to be called out as he has to run for his life, and top esports may just be taking that Baron.
The ultimate record scratch moment for Viper. He was like, you may be wondering how I got here. Literally mid-jump, the immediate regret Knight was like right onto the shockwave and just obliterated EDG. Top esports, so much more confidence this time around, showing that we are going to get a series. Now, Jiejie is alive, does have flash, but
not anymore.
He's dead.
He's dead. Call an ambulance.
He's dead.
But not for me. Scout's running as well. And there you go. Baron in hand. 5k gold lead. Top esports finally alive here in game number 3.
Had to fumble the draft a couple of times, but this is the top esports that everyone expected to see and how dominant they can be. This replay starting before Flandre already pressed the eject button, but here we go. Look, Viper, midair, and nope. No.
Yeah, it's a
shockwave
into.
That was a big ouch.
It was. Frost, this has been. I'm glad we're seeing something out of top esports. Right, it would make no sense to bring you in for what could be such a great series and then have EDG just slap top esports down. We get the competitive nature that is TES. We get a 5k gold lead in game number 3. We get another Infernal Dragon spawning, and EDG still want to fight the very fed top esports.
Like, we can run it back. We'll make sure it works this time around. All of the available ultimates are up there for each team. JackeyLove doesn't have flash, so this is all on his Alistar to keep him safe here in this fight. A Scout may have found Onslaught of Shadows. Now looking for the flank. Again, watch JackeyLove. Can Scout get to him? Oh,
Dragon taken by JackeyLove. It didn't even involve a jungle, but into the backline, they've got JackeyLove. Worked out perfectly. Froskurinn, Flandre's made the play. And now for Knight, he's caught out, but Jiejie getting bursted down. 369's the next person to watch, but at the end of the day, Viper's chasing Knight. Ready for him, is he? With the explosive shot into the Buster charge. Scout trying to survive long enough. Kingslayer does it. Viper comes back in, and now it's on to Karsa. The separation anxiety is there, because top esports have just lost everyone.
Oh, hero moment for Viper right there. Now, he was kind of the guy who got to be the little turret to move around, but I still think the big winners of that team fight were Scout and Flandre. The fact that Scout made sure that he found the Onslaught of Shadows off of Karsa. He went all the way around the pit to make sure that he could join Flandre to get onto that backline and at least take out one of those carries. And it looked for a second that top esports were still going to push through it with how much damage Gangplank was there. Now, the dust has settled. It was still the dragon pickup by JackeyLove on that Jinx. So now looking for their Infernal Soul. So while EDG have gotten a brief respite, it is not them back into the game as we take another look at this one. There's the ultimate. There's the follow-up of the Onslaught of Shadows. Now you have one damage dealer dead. Good shockwave onto the Gangplank as well, and I'm like, oh no, 369, he's got 3 items, he's too powerful. I don't think there's anything EDG can do. But Rell keeps Gangplank out of the fight. Scout then wraps him up, and it gives Viper enough time to walk front to back and clean up the back half of this team fight. Scout was a goddamn hero today.
Again, every single game, Scout has been pivotal. And again on this Sylas, the 3-item Sylas, you can see 4k damage. I know 369's top in the charts there, but the AD carry, especially on Scout as well in the solo lane, has been massive. And 4-1-6 yet again, 5-2-4. This is becoming a trend in this series where we know that game 1 was exactly like this, however close. EDG aren't out of this yet, even after Top Esports got a 5k gold lead. And now they're trying to hit down on 369 as they're all grouping towards the bottom lane, trying to give Scout some safety.
Yeah, still ridiculously dangerous for EDG. Top Esports, you know, not flinching yet. They didn't have Flash that time around on Jinx, which made the team fight that much scarier, but that cooldown's about to be back up when they are fighting for the soul point on the Infernal. So just because EDG got it once doesn't mean that they can get it again. So I'm still really favoring Top Esports right now, but we've at least seen some of the conditions that EDG need to find if they do manage to flip this fight. Now, coming up on the Infernal Soul, this is probably going to be it. This is going to be the climax of the game and potentially the climax of the series if EDG are able to out-execute on this one. So EDG want to make sure that they're getting control of all of their waves, that they're placing on their triangle vision. They still have 2 minutes for pickup, and if they can get a quick pick with maybe a Paranoia if Top Esports separate, but Top are doing a great job. They're turtled up, they're moving as just a little bolder and just, you know, trading vision back and forth. This should be just a slight tug of war for another minute 47, but this Infernal Soul, this is the big one.
Yeah, let's wait to see what items are picked up before the fight, because Viper's now on 4. I think JackeyLove really trying to get that GA before the fight comes up. There is a big GA difference, and that could make all the difference in the upcoming fight. Yeah, so stopwatch is there, and not there yet here for JackeyLove, but at least he'll have that stasis. I also want to point out, we've got an Orianna with 3.5 items there in the mid lane. Froskurinn top lane as well, 369, almost towards what could be the Phantom Dancer himself.
Yeah, with JackeyLove having that stopwatch and the flash, and the fact that they don't even have to force the Infernal Soul, they could actually trade this for Baron, or even just like 2-man the Baron while other members kind of just slightly poke them off of bottom river. I just think I really favor Top Esports' position right now on map, on itemization. I think that this is their game to lose, and I would be really surprised if EDG were able to pull it back at this point.
It'll come down to the people we talked about before. Flandre's ult into the backside. Scout as well on this Sylas and how he can path his way through these fights with the Zhonya's Hourglass and with the 3.5 items he has. Dragon coming up, 30 seconds until the inevitable moment. Soul will be there if Top Esports are able to secure this, and the series will go on. And honestly, you know, being a little biased, that's what I hope. Top Esports have not shown up in the first 2 games, but now they're finally here to play, and in 15 seconds they can show us if they're here to stay as well.
I mean, we all want the 4 games at least, and here we go. We might get it as Top Esports are just 5-manning onto this. They pulled the TP off of Gangplank. They're not going to mess around with the Baron, but look at Scout TPing to the backside of the pit. Does he get a key ultimate?
Wants casters, that's the one he's been taking. Zhuo secondaries, we've seen Sylas with the Unbreakable Will, but not really beneficial. Dragon resets a little bit, but JackeyLove's going to hit this down. This will go quick. Flandre has the ulti as well. Onto the back line at the ready. That's a great Everfrost. Draw goes in, but the Rell ultimate hits so quickly. Meiko goes down, but is it all worth it? Flandre into the back line, surviving for long enough, but JackeyLove kiting his way out until Viper gets the reset, flushes himself, hits a minion, but Zhuo still dies, and EDG won it again, Frosk.
I cannot believe that actually just happened. EDG managed to win the team fight. Jinx had Flash. Jinx had the Hourglass. She has an Orianna standing next to her. She has an Alistar. And Scout didn't even have Onslaught of Shadows. He took Alistar's ultimate and just went in.
That was...
EDG will now... They're going to deny Soul. They're going to pop onto the Baron. They could 2-man it with Udyr and Tristana. Whereas before I was like, okay, EDG, you won a good team fight. Now your foot's kind of back into the door. Them getting this gives them that much more time onto the map. Like, yes, I still don't really favor their scaling, but again, they got key summoners off of key targets. And that's what I think is super important here for the next team fight.
So sacrificial members like Flandre, like the Rell here, from Meiko, because this was beautiful with the Chaos Storm.
Okay, early flash. I'm just walking JackeyLove. Early flash to get out of the Rell ultimate. Flandre then goes on top of him. He's got the GA, and it just feels like Jinx is just CC'd forever. Yeah. Viper here with the really slick flash into, a minion auto, but, you know, a click. He's also getting, what's the word? Vamp. Healing off of it. What do we call it now?
Omnivamp. Bit of everything.
Omnivamp.
Omnivamp, yeah, we get a slice of life. I keep forgetting, there's so much that's changed. But we get Omnivamp now. So we get Vamp, everyone's a vampire now. But
That
EDG,
was the
hey,
team fight, though. Oh.
that was it. You're right. That was it. And now it's Soul point for EDG. There's another clock up in the top left for Soul, and they've got the Baron. They can push this. They can get a firm grasp towards those final items. Scout has a Rabadon's and a Magi's that's ready to be stacked up. If top esports miss position one more time, Frosk, that's the series. And EDG will 3-0 ready to face off against FPX in the semis.
And it's that much easier this time around because you just called out the itemization. Like the fact that Scout's going to hit like a truck right now. 7-1-8. He's having an incredible series right now. I know Meiko deservedly got MVP in second game, but MVP of this series, if EDG 3-0, this has to be Scout. Like, Viper is just getting to kind of knock down the dominoes, but EDG are setting them up beautifully for Viper to just show how mechanically gifted he is.
They're being aggressive, all hell. Jiejie gets tagged out to half. That won't be a problem. Look at the bottom wave. Pushing that in while pressured through mid. Flandre, the one person who doesn't have a Baron buff, so Viper needs to get down there and help out. As Knight is the one responding with the Orianna. But inner turret goes down. Remember, a lot of resources to take here if you EDG, and they'll keep shoving in aggressively.
Still, it is really hard for EDG to break the base of top esports because, yeah, they have great turret damage with Tristana, but it's really hard to dive, and not anyone else can really step forward. Like, if EDG try to dive top esports, it better be damn good, because you're diving a Gangplank as well as an Alistar. That could just be certain death. So I expect that this will fall back to the inhibitor line, and then EDG will say, okay, we got what we came for, let's kind of reset and try to exploit the Jinx on kind of like the next Infernal Soul instead of pushing our luck into a base.
And let's see what we can do towards the Dragon. I mean, 2 minutes till that comes up. If top esports don't find a fight now, or at least a pick, that'll be the cause. Zhuo, the pick off here. Unbreakable will burnt. Scout has his own that he stole earlier. And that's an ultimate that shouldn't have too much of a cooldown. Remember, it will be back up by the time we fight over that neutral objective. So it feels like that's it. Baron's now expired. And now we wait for the top left-hand corner of the screen. 1 minute 30 until the ultimatum fight that could break this wide open.
Now, keeping track of summoners, Jinx will have access to Flash by the time that this Infernal Soul comes out. I think one of the biggest things is that top esports just need to collectively learn how to team fight better. It feels like they kind of get split up in these team fights, that EDG are getting better target selection, better CC chains. Top esports have done a pretty poor job of checking their flanks. You know, this is now multiple games in a row where kind of crucial fights have been turned because, you know, Flandre's flashing over the Dragon Wall and landing on top of JackeyLove, or Flandre and Scout, or onslaughting of Shadows and Paranoia directly onto JackeyLove. Like, it just doesn't feel like JackeyLove has the same team protection or zone control that Viper is getting. And in terms of team fight execution, EDG just look a lot more polished at it.
They do. I mean, this is meant to be one of the best team fighting teams in the league. EDG have shown us that they are the most constructed team in the league right now. I mean, this has been clean so far, and for EDG, pushing their limit here into the enemy jungle. A lot of AoE abilities ready with their fingers on the trigger. As it's just around the Dragon. 20 seconds till it spawns. EDG holding their vision line as best they can.
Scout grabbing hold of the Alistar ultimate as Karsa maybe has found Flandre.
Shield goes up. There's the Paranoia, but oh my god, what happened?
Damage!
Into the backline. Now they're onto JackeyLove, the GA burnt.
Oh no.
Oh, top esports, can you bring this back? Flash is burnt everywhere. The shockwave, a good start as Jiejie kind of ints his face off as well. And both teams just ate the sandwich that gave them food poisoning.
Oh, yeah, that was definitely a shit sandwich. Now, that said, JackeyLove does go down, but Knight does manage to make sure that top esports will live to fight another day. It is the Infernal Soul going over to Edward Gaming, but at least Knight saved the game. That was massive damage coming out of both these mid laners. Sylas just pulled a magic trick and made, I don't even know who it was, disappear. Was it JackeyLove?
It was JackeyLove. And he just got caught out. Scout, oh my god, that hitbox, but that was great.
And now it's time and time again that Scout is just abusing this Alistar ultimate and this Hecarim ultimate onto top esports. But there we go, Knight's damage on top of 369 Cannon Barrage really saved the day here. Elder gonna spawn in 5 minutes, Baron's up in 19 seconds. I'm ready. This is the buckle in time. We're 41 minutes into the game. It's always going to come down to team fight execution. It feels like Knight is trying his damned hardest, but he's got to have the most god tier of shockwaves right now because Sylas is just having so much more of an impact with these Alistar ultimates, with these Hecarim ultimates than this poor little shockwave even just deleting 2 members. And he can't find Viper. This has been the big difference is JackeyLove is getting found every single time, but Viper has had so much protection.
Right, he's played so many angles. His positioning in team fights has been such a big plus. This is why Viper's been the best AD carry. He's using that rapid fire cannon to angle over for the ward. And with the Baron staring them in the face, with an Infernal in the... yeah, you're right. Full build. And of course he went to steal plate mail as well, so Viper in a great position, Froskurinn. EDG need one moment. There's the paranoia. Is Flandre going in onto karsa? He's stunned up. Nice little Everfrost yet again, and EDG like, all right, let's go and bring them towards Baron.
Yeah, kind of interesting, you know, who was Flandre maybe looking for, maybe even just covering to see if they could get someone slightly, you know, it's like a game of Among Us. You slightly separate, you can't see someone, maybe Jiejie comes out and slaps someone down, but I don't know about this call. I think that this is a bit ambitious. It
is, because Scout is definitely the sus one over the wall. The shockwave only hits onto one. It's Flandre. He's the top laner though with Scouts coming in. 369's isolated. The GP's caught out and bursted down. Karsa goes down too. Zhuo now in the middle of it, trying to bring it back as Knight is doing his best. JackeyLove goes gold, but you know what? That's a good game of Among Us. You know who the imposter is. You take him down. And top esports left with only Knight.
And Edward Gaming with that prove that form is temporary, but class is forever. It doesn't matter who is on the roster. You can change out the pieces, you can rewrite it, but history will reign and they will go to the winner's bracket here.
Straight to the semifinals to meet with FPX. 2-3-0s here as they explode Knight. Top esports were outclassed. I've said top esports can't be stopped, but it's EDG, the returning champions, that rise against the Phoenix next week. It is actually this week, in a couple of days, that we'll see FPX versus EDG. And wow, I mean, another 3-0, so a great way to round it out.
It's coming at you fast. There's a lot of games. It's a very long playoff run, very fun tournament to watch. But that said, while there are winners and EDG, you know, moving up into the winners side of the bracket to face FPX, there are also losers. This is not the last straw for top esports. They have another opportunity. They will face RNG. So Karsa does have an opportunity to take on his former team, and you saw the look on his face as he's rapping his keyboard. You know, obviously not happy with that result, but I think Karsa had a phenomenal day today.
Yeah, I think Karsa was the best performing member of top esports. And, you know, there's a lot to break out down here with TES. And I think they're a team that when they lose, there's a big gap between their most successful games. We can go back and watch Suning. We can go back and watch top esports today. And you'll see that wide divide where they feel a little bit lifeless. And I know that seems a bit harsh, but from all the top esports I've watched Froskurinn, this wasn't the team that could challenge, that could return and try and defend their title. They will get another chance, but against RNG, I mean, it's gonna be a hard ask.
It's always really important to remember, you know, how young top esports are still. They have, you know, a couple of splits underneath their belt, and they're not rookies by any means, but they are a younger team, a very emotional team as well. There's still such a higher ceiling that they can reach for because they just need more time to play together. But when you look at guys like Meiko and Scout and Flandre, how long they've been playing, how much veteranship is on that roster. You know, Viper playing in LCK now, moving over to LPL, like top has been such a phenomenal story to watch, you know, Knight and the rise of the golden left hand, JackeyLove after everything he accomplished in his rookie split as an AD carry, winning a world championship, rookie year and winning a world championship. You know, it's okay to kind of see these hiccups or these growing pains as this team is still trying to kind of figure themselves out, you know, learn how to iron out some of these macro decisions or iron out some of these team fighting things. Because when top hits you, they hit you really hard, but they're still a little bit reckless, still a little bit uncontrollable, and it's simply that refinement stage, but that takes time, that takes experience.
It does, and the, you know, the laning state that we saw today wasn't as dominant as we've seen in the past, right? And that consistency that we wanted to see wasn't there. And I think on the other end, like, we got that veterancy that you talked about in a really strong suit for EDG. I think today was a fantastic day for Scout, you mentioned, you know, Viper as well. Meiko showed us why he's in that top 2 of the support. I think Ming and Meiko, without question, have been the best supports throughout 2021 spring. They're the veterans of the league. They're the long-standing players who played with people like Deft and Uzi. Meiko's showing us how different he is from Zhuo, who's playing his rookie split with top esports.
Yeah, and I do want to focus in a little bit on Knight, but you are right. You know, Meiko deserves so much of that praise. Knight is a phenomenal Orianna player. Like, I'll never take that away from him, but I get so frustrated watching such a talented player like Knight, especially in his mechanics, because the skill expression on Orianna is hard. You know, it's so much easier for Scout on a champion like Sylas that can have such a high ceiling for skill expression about what you're doing with that champion to pop off and feel like he has so much more control and emphasis over a game. And I kind of wish that, you know, Knight got to play the Sylases. I want to see him on a champion where he can really make the make or break. And like, a Shockwave can do that, but we're kind of past that point in League of Legends. You know, Orianna doesn't have the same impact that she kind of once did when there's so many other champions that kind of do what she does really well. So I know he's a good Orianna. I know it's a huge comfort pick. It's obviously decent in the meta, really good to blind, but I just wish that he would play something with more skill expression to really show how good Knight is.
The crazy thing is, Knight is the person with the most unique champions in the mid lane. I mean, Knight has an extensive champion pool. This is one of the talking points of top esports, that they all have really unique champion pools and one of the widest in the league. So you're nailing it on the head, where I think for top esports, you know, giving Knight more skill expression is how in the past we've seen this player pop off. And I think this all comes and rounds out to the fact that whether it's on Orianna or not, this hasn't been Knight's split. He may get another chance against RNG, but this has not been the Knight that we saw in 2019 that almost made Worlds. In 2020, we saw in the domestic split, maybe not at Worlds. This is not the Knight that is the golden left hand that was undoubtedly the best mid laner alongside Rookie. It's kind of funny that both of them had a really bad split, or at least a mediocre split, which is bad for them. And so it is disappointing. And I really hope Knight finds himself in the series versus RNG, because you know, going up against someone like Cryin, who's so stable, he has an opportunity to abuse the laning phase. He has the opportunity to lane gap, as we expected with top esports. So I think there's a lot of things you can say about Knight, Frosk, and I agree with all of them that there needs to be that skill expression that makes him the golden left hand, not the, you know, bronze left hand that I guess is not as impressive, not as exciting.
Listen, it's emphasis on golden right now.